Hi everyone, welcome to my review Rush Hour 3, directed by Ratner from 2007. As yes, we are back once again ready to discuss this time around the final film of the Rush Hour trilogy, Rush Hour 3. And this one is really interesting, and I do enjoy this one quite a bit, and I look forward to discussing this one today. There will be, of course, a spoiler warning for this discussion. If you haven't seen this film, I simply recommend seeing it first, and then come back to this video, and we can go from there. We can talk about this from the comments and celebrate cinema. So yeah, with what I said, let's discuss my thoughts on this film. And yeah, this is one that I do, once again, really enjoy. Just like the previous two films, in the trilogy, I think the comedy in this film at times is absolutely hilarious. And I think, once again, the action, you've got some great set pieces in this film, particularly the Eiffel Tower, kind of section at the end of the film, the final act, and just really nice blend once again of comedy and action. And it's just great to see these characters return again for a third film. I think just to see Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker back, and once again, just like the second film, this relationship, this kind of friendship and the bond between these characters has already been established. So we're just kind of right in there really with the characters in the first act interacting. They know each other. They've kind of been friends for a while, and it plays on that once again, just like the second film, and it's just so great to see once again Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker returning, and to see this is the third film, and not just these two films, but we've got a trilogy, luckily, from this, and that is just great because these characters, these actors together on screen, it's just a legendary pairing, and I think in the sense of the plots of this film, it does obviously, we go to Paris this time round for a lot of the film, and an attempt on an ambassador's life, it is made, I think the way it kind of leads to this conspiracy and this kind of plots for kind of trying to get to the bottom of the triad leaders, and we learn that this list eventually in the film that can kind of reveal all of the triad leaders, and people are trying to stop the kind of Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker's characters and other characters in the film getting to this list before them, and it's kind of something that they're on the case throughout the film, and they go to Paris mainly in this film. So I think it's really interesting. It's quite a cool plot the way it's set up, and it does. Just like the second film mainly, it comes a bit convoluted, as we go throughout. But, where it matters, I guess it's definitely, something I can follow and I'm invested in. But it's just got some moments here and there. It's a bit, kind of, overstepping itself kind of thing. And it's going, winding around a little bit, and, just a little bit, convoluted at times here and there. And it does kind of take me out a little bit, of the actual investment to the narrative. But overall, once again, just like the second film, even though I had some issues with that, and the way the plot was done, I think the characters once again in this film are just great, and I think the way in which we have that comedy and action once again, and the kind of the teaming up, the kind of tag team moves and all this, it's just great stuff. And the choreography once again is so great here. I think the final act as well, we have the kind of Eiffel Tower showdown. That was something else, and it's a real unique set piece that does stand out, in the trilogy as this kind of unique, well thought out, creative, huge kind of set piece here. Really a kind of an epic part of the film, and also very investing with the plot there and how the villains and all this, kind of it ties together, and I think just the outcome there, where the characters just kind of walk off as well. For the final shot, Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker once again linking back to the first film where we have War, the song coming on there. And it's just so great to see them kind of performing this again, the kind of celebration dance. That is just, it really is priceless, and a perfect way to kind of end the film. You could say it's kind of a bit rushed going from, the outcome and the combination of all, the kind of the villains and all this, and the plot there straight into kind of the final, singing there and dancing. But, I think it's still a great way to end the film, and into the credits, of course, with the bloopers once again, which is, always something I love about these films. But yeah, I think the first act, is really good. It just sets up, once again, the plot quite nicely, and seeing the characters and where they are in their lives, and, just the chemistry and the kind of the bickering at times again in this film between the two characters. I think it's just, it makes it more of a believable kind of friendship here, and, I think just Chris Tucker, straight away has got some really hilarious moments, when he's kind of doing the traffic scenario there. That's just so funny, and I think the way the film shot is once again really good, but I think it's not quite personally for my liking as good as the previous two films. The way, just the look of the film, it's not quite for me as much as those films, and it's a bit more, it's very modern in the way it's shot, and it's just got something about it that's not yeah, just personally for my tastes, as much, but I think it's still really well edited, and it flows very nicely, just like the other two films. And I really enjoy what they do with the side characters in this film as well. We have Soo-yeon Han coming back, this character from the first film, of course, the daughter of Han, the ambassador, and she is in the film. Some funny moments with her, and it's just really cool to see her back in the film. Once again, it plays on the previous films, in the franchise in interesting ways, and I think seeing her, in the hospital scene especially, that was really good to see, and some interactions that was really nice between Lee and Carter and Soo-yeon Han, and I think just the way it plays on the first film in particular, and also there's kind of some things that happen in the second film, some themes that are explored in that kind of return for this film as well. So it's kind of a bringing together different aspects and elements, kind of themes, core moments of the previous two films, but it is fairly unique as well. And I think the setting being in Paris, that's definitely something that elevates the film, in that sense. It makes it still unique, even though it is kind of, you could say, quite similar to the second film, because even the villain in the film, Kenji, played by Hiroyuki Sanada, in the film, it's very similar to what happens in the second film. We've got this character who Lee has known in the past, and this time around, obviously, the childhood foster brother of Lee, who grew up in the orphanage together. So it's a bit different, but it's kind of that similar thing to the second film. We have someone that Lee knows, and he has to kind of put this, his past behind him. And how he had this kind of bond in some way, or knew this character. Cast that aside, and to try to kind of triumph over the villain in that sense. And it's again a little bit different there. It's a bit more of a personal thing to Lee himself, but still, it's definitely something that I think it's very, very similar, and it's just coming just right after the second film, not even the first film, where they bring something back in that sense. It is just a bit, it could have been maybe a bit different, and it would have been a bit more kind of interesting in that sense. And but still, I think that's just one of my issues slightly with the film. It is just a bit similar at times to especially the second film, and just some of the way the plot is done as well. And while it does build upon the first film as well, and kind of bring things together once again from that film, it does just kind of at times it becomes a little bit generic, the plot, and I think it starts out interesting a bit more, and it does have some really cool moments, and the idea of this list, really, of these triad leaders, and they're trying to get to this list before anyone else does, kind of thing. I think that's really cool, but just at times it's a little bit of a generic feeling to the plot, and to the way some of the film kind of unfolds. Just something that could have been better, and could have enhanced my enjoyment of the film even more. But I think despite all that, you've got some hilarious moments in the film. I think the nun sequence, in the film, that was just so funny, and I think just as well, we have at one point in the film, which is really interesting actually, one of the cool parts of the film, where Lee and Carter kind of have this falling out, and at one moment in the film, in the middle, and it's just kind of they go off, and they're kind of frustrated with each other in a sense, and then they're starting to miss each other in their company, and just kind of being reminded of each other, thinking on each other, and just different moments there of kind of this montage, I think was just one of the funniest parts really in the entire trilogy actually, and it was just so funny there, and just the reactions from Lee and Carter, and the things they're doing, and then soon after that they get back together again, and just kind of once again the bond is there. You've also got Yvan Attal in the film playing George Cabby, and this is one of my favourite characters in this film, and it's so unique, and kind of stand out, as one of the favourite parts for me of the film. And it's this cab driver, George Cabby, a taxi driver in France, and when he meets the characters, he's quite hesitant at first to kind of drive them around, and he has kind of a disagreement with them there, and all this kind of stuff. And then it kind of leads to him kind of being, driving them around, and kind of, helping them out, on the case in that sense. But he gets this idea that he's kind of this James Bond type character, and he's a spy and all this, and he's got this secret life, and it's so funny the way that's done when he kind of has interactions as well later on in the film with his wife, and just the way she kind of slaps him there, and it's just so funny. His arc in the film is epic as well as being really funny, and it's something that is definitely one of my favourite aspects of the film, and becomes this, he really internalises this whole kind of spy image, and kind of commits to this, and he becomes this kind of James Bond like character, and that was just so funny, and the way in the end as well it culminates, and it's just definitely one of my favourite characters. So you've definitely got some really funny moments in this film, laugh out loud moments, and I think consistently, it is really funny, and the action in the film is really good. I think especially the final act. Until then, definitely not as good, certainly as the previous two films, but overall it's got some really solid action, and at times, once again, really, really good stuff here. The choreography, I think was really great at times, and just, yeah, very engaging. I think the blend, as I say, of comedy and action is really good, and the plot at times, it's definitely not as investing overall, looking at the film, the narrative, the way it kind of unfolds and, culminates in the end, it's not, for me, anywhere near as investing as the previous two films, but I think, despite all that, it's definitely a very fun film again, really, really funny, and, this being the final in the trilogy, and as of yet, there's no more, obviously, Rush Hour films being made, I think it's something that's definitely quite a nice ending, and, I think definitely, for me as well, it's something I think is a worthy sequel once again, and really, really enjoyable at times, and I think once again the chemistry between Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker, I think is great, and it obviously elevates the film. I think there's some generic parts in the film overall, and things that are kind of rehashing, particularly from the second film, but I think it does build upon those films and take elements, from the plots returning, kind of parts of those films, I think in an interesting way, and it's definitely a unique film, in a sense. It does stand out, it's got the Eiffel Tower sequence as well, but it's definitely at times a bit generic, and it's not a film that, is, it reaches the heights, for me, of the first and second film, but definitely a really, really solid film overall, and my rating for this is a 75%, so a really high score for me in a sense. I think it's just not one that reaches, yeah, as I say, the heights of the previous two films, and it's not as good as those films, and it's not something that I think is, kind of fully engaging throughout, in certain elements, but overall, it's definitely a fun film. It's always funny, it's always, something where the action's engaging. I just think there's something at times where I'm kind of not as invested in the overall narrative and the way, the storytelling is done. And I think the final act as well, has some real highlights, I find, and, the ending itself, as I've said, where they kind of do the kind of celebration dance again. I think that was so well done, and I think, as I say, it's a really nice moment, and just the way they go off quite quickly from what's happened with the main plot there, and once that's culminated, and then they go off and they kind of do that dance there. And just a really nice way to end the film, and to bring back the memories of the first film as well, and to close the trilogy in a really just carefree kind of way. And yeah, once again, this film, I really enjoy it, and I think it's just a charming film at times, and has definitely got some generic parts, and it doesn't reach the heights for me of the previous two films, and consistently it's just not quite there, but it is overall a very fun film. Hilarious parts in this kind of bit where Lee and Carter are kind of getting knocked around as well, kind of in the martial arts sequence there, kind of with all the students, and that was so funny, and just moments throughout, as I say, when they kind of part ways for a bit, and they kind of frustrated with each other, and obviously Lee says that Carter is not his brother, and all this kind of stuff, but then they get back together shortly after that. That was a great kind of sequence there, absolutely hilarious, and really just a warm moment, and yeah, different parts throughout the film, sprinkled throughout, that just laugh out loud, and it's hilarious to watch. And once again, the thing that really makes this film, is Lee and Carter together, kind of going on this case, and obviously George Cabby as well, is one of my favourite characters really in the trilogy, and I think just, yeah, Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker, once again, the chemistry is so great that it does elevate the film as well, and it's a film that once again is a worthy sequel, and a film in this trilogy of the Rush Hour films. So yeah, that's my thoughts on this film. What do you think? It'd be really great to hear your thoughts on this film. How does it compare for you to the other films in the trilogy? And yeah, what's your thoughts on this film? We've got to discuss this in the comments, and celebrate cinema. So yes, as always, take care, and thanks for watching.